Hey, what's up, guys? I want to welcome you out to another wonderful episode of this little podcast of ours. This is According to Kaz Queen, and as always, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
And thank you guys for joining us again. These are conversations that happen between a husband and wife in the privacy of our own home that we bring to you to make you laugh, to make you think, to be introspective, but most of all, to open the lines of communication. And you can hear us as always. All right. If you're listening to us, we're on all streaming services. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcast. Let's see what else we're on. We're on Amazon Music as well. We're on everywhere that you can stream podcasts. That's where we are. You can also hear us on Black with No Chaser Radio. Most importantly, we want you to download the BWNC app. That's BWNC Radio app. All right. You can do that in the iTunes store or in Google Play. Make sure you're following us on Black with No Chaser Radio. Shouts out to everybody over at Black with No Chaser. It's a lot of dope Black podcast, all right, on that channel. So make sure that you go check out BWNC Radio, Black with No Chaser Radio. Download the app. And as always, all right, this is brought to you by the Kundi Collection, all right? And I'm wearing that right now. Make sure that you get a good shot of that right there. Yeah, we ain't negotiating our liberation, all right, off top. So you can go to www.kundicollective.com. That's www.kundicollective.com. Check out all of the designs. We definitely have a design for any state of mind, all right? So we're expressing our Blackness through these designs brought up by myself and thought up by my bride as well. Make sure you check us out there. And if you prefer to watch our bright, shiny faces, shouts out to everybody that's been checking us out on YouTube. Make sure that you go like and subscribe the channel, all right? Bam, right under my finger, all right? Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you can check it out every time that an episode drops. All right, we are slowly climbing up to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting ready to try to monetize this page. So it's been a long road. So please make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please. And share it with somebody and tell them to subscribe as well. A lot of good content on it, man. A lot of great conversations that you want to be privy to. So please make sure that you do that. All right. So, on this particular episode, we got the clank back. The clank is back.
The clank.
There you go. It was a little light because the glasses are kind of full.
We got to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But the adult beverages have returned. The libations have returned on this particular episode. Don't know, if it'll stay or not. Just really just depends when we sit down and get ready to put this conversation together. Just depends on what mood we're in and what's happening.
That is absolutely correct.
We happen to be, in a joyous, celebratory, not really celebratory, but, in the chill mood, you know what I'm saying? So we've got, me on my white, she is on her red, and we're here to, talk about a few things here. There's a lot of stuff going on, of course. Sent you some stuff in your inbox. I kind of keep up with what's going on in pop culture. You kind of shield yourself away from pop culture a little bit because you want to protect your peace, and I understand that. But, folks want to hear what the Franklins have to say about a lot of stuff that's going on. So I sent you some stuff in your inbox. Yeah, of course they do. And if they don't, they're going to hear it anyway. You know what I'm saying? We're going to give it to them raw, just like we're doing it. Yeah. So at any rate, a lot of stuff going on, but particularly something that I sent you in, it's, kind of already been talked about, but, something that we're talking about in here. Recently the NCAA women's finals took place, LSU and Iowa. LSU was victorious, of course, but the probably the most talked about part of that game was the end. One of the players from LSU's team, Angel Reese, was basically, following one of the Iowa players, Caitlin Clark, around the court, giving her the John Cena, you can't see me. There's speculation on where that started. John Cena, of course, did not come up with that. Tony Yayo of G Unit is being credited, I think, for creating that. But at any rate, John Cena took it and popularized it in the WWE. Caitlin Clark had already done this move several times during the tournament. She's an excellent player, by the way. I want to make sure that I make that known, and I want to make sure that I say that she's an excellent player. And it was one of her taunts that she uses during the tournament to her opponents. You can't see me. They had an entire segment that they put together about this because, of course, when she was doing it, everybody thought that it was cute and cool. And at the end of the game, when LSU won and Angel Reese followed her around the court doing the "you can't see me," of course, she was called classless. She was called immature. She was called hood. A lot of things that the LSU team had been called throughout the entire tournament. And South Carolina coach Dawn Staley actually spoke to it in the Final Four about how the media had been portraying the black women on these teams as opposed to the other teams, and the words like, hood and all of those things were kind of, thrown around as it relates to talking about the black players. So, it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when we do it. Angel Reese, was talked about for the entire week after that, but I sent that to you. Of course, you don't really follow basketball like that, but, we follow what's been happening in this country again. So when you saw that and you saw the reaction and the talk behind it, what were some of the things that came to your mind?
Keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't stop doing it, because obviously it's touching something. It's making, they triggered by it.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that makes them triggered, they need to work on it.
Right.
So let's just force them to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if she felt they had been berating them the whole time, that amount, plus they talking about sports. It's sports. Ain't
right.
that what sports is about?
That's what sports is about.
So now when the black girl does it, suddenly it's classless.
It's a problem. And it's
classless? Like, that's what you want to call it? You really want to call it something else?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah. And the moment that, that it happened, instantly, social media was just a buzz because, of course, this is terrible that this black girl is doing this. She's so unsportsmanlike. This is not sportsmanlike of her to do this.
But it was for the white girl.
And there were, memes up all across social media, showing Caitlin Clark, actually doing the "you can't see me." And they put it up against Angel Reese doing it. And it was the same exact thing. Used in the same context, used to kind of taunt your competition. And it was so funny because Caitlin Clark actually did interviews afterward, and she said that she didn't understand why Angel Reese got so much heat from it. She also said that we are competitors and this is what you do in competition. And she said, I didn't have any problem with it, which I know made the heads of racists just explode off of their necks, because she came back and basically said, it's stupid for y'all to be mad about this, because she said, I'm a competitor. This is competition. Trash talking is a part of the game. Why are you guys ridiculing Angel Reese for doing something that I have been doing? But of course, white folks, as they do, they double down, of course. And regardless of what Caitlin Clark, they wanted to use this as an opportunity to talk about a black woman.
Yeah.
And call her hood.
Yep.
Which is wild, which is something that we've seen in society over and over again.
It's good to see her make that stance, though.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin.
Yes. That
is really good for her to have done that. I don't know if it made any difference whatsoever, but it's good for her to have done that.
I think it did make a difference because it kind of quieted a lot of the talk when it happened. But even still, like I said, as they do, white folks doubled down, of course, when Caitlin Clark said, I don't see any problem with it. She should be able to express herself. And then, of course, the white folks came back and said, well, I don't care what Caitlin Clark says, she can be fine with it, but it's still not cool and it's unsportsmanlike. And they still tried to make it like it was two different things. Of course, in these race discussions that you have, the goalposts are always moved. So, of course, it was unsportsmanlike until we showed you that Caitlin Clark had been doing the same thing. Then when Caitlin Clark was doing the same thing, then you said, well, at least Caitlin Clark wasn't following Angel Reese, and she didn't follow her opponents all over the court like Angel Reese did. So they took it.
So they're saying it was too aggressive.
Yes, they were saying that Angel Reese followed Caitlin Clark because she did. She followed her around the court and gave her the "you can't see me." And they were saying that when Caitlin Clark did it, she only did it for a couple of seconds and then she was done. But Angel Reese shouldn't have followed Caitlin Clark over the court. Listen, it's competition. Plain and simple. The only people that I've ever seen that had trouble with trash talking are people that consistently got dunked on or consistently got scored on or consistently lost. Okay. If you were somebody that grew up losing, in the backyard football games and the pickup games, you got dunked on, in gym, or you got dunked on at the pickup basketball games at the park, or you just consistently lost at anything that you have done, you would have a problem with trash talking. Trash talking is a part of competition, whether it is sports all the way down to playing spades. All right. Trash talking is a part of competition. And if you can't take it, then you just don't participate in it. But if you are in competition and you're going to be competitive, you better learn how to trash talk, or you better learn how to shut up the trash talk, because there's a lot of people who know how to shut up the trash talk, and that's by winning. You win, you score, you dunk on me. After I dunk on you, that'll shut up a lot of the trash talking. Okay. So Angel Reese, in the heat of competition, that was her response. And, she was so mature in my thoughts in the press conference when she was just saying, look, all this year y'all have called us hood. You say I don't fit into a box and you do this. And she says, basically, I'm not here to fit in your box. I'm not here to at all adhere to or be whatever stereotype that you want me to be. I'm going to be me, and you just have to deal with it. And she doubled down on it, which I think is really cool.
Wow, that is cool.
I think, Black people, it's crazy because not only do they try to police our physical bodies through law enforcement, but they try to police how we feel. They try to police how we celebrate. They try to police how we react. Everything that we do, society tries to police it.
That's the entire system. That's what it's built on.
And it's crazy because
mental enslavement,
physical enslavement at one time, but mental enslavement. But, we can't celebrate. We can't cheer. We can't have a good time. We can't I was looking at an incident that happened in Baltimore on the dock area in Baltimore. For those of you that are in the DMV area, Baltimore is known for, the docks, where people come and hang out. There were some kids that were hanging out and just chilling in a group. And the police came and parked, and a helicopter came over. And there was all kinds of law enforcement that started patrolling the area because these kids were just sitting and chilling. And basically they said they were just living life. And of course they were being policed for living life. And it's just like, we can't gather anywhere. We can't, say anything. We can't protest. We can't celebrate. We can't celebrate winning a championship in the way that this generation celebrates without being policed on how we're supposed to react. We're supposed to react a certain way. We're supposed to talk a certain way. We're supposed to conduct ourselves in a way that people think we're supposed to conduct ourselves, even in competition, which is crazy. At the end of the day, I think it's the wildest thing. The crazy part about this, the first lady came out after this was over with and said that I want to invite LSU and Iowa to the White House. Now, for those of you that are not aware of this, only the winners are invited to the White House. You win the Super Bowl, you get invited. Not the person that loses the Super Bowl, they don't get to come. You win the NBA championship, you win the World Series, okay? You win the NCAA championship, men's or women's, you get invited to the White House. Never has there been an instance where the people who lost the game been invited to the White House. It's never happened. And First Lady Jill Biden said that, I want to invite LSU and Iowa to the White House. And of course that caused an uproar because, again, it was one of those instances where Iowa was being treated as if they were some type of victim. So we're going to reward them anyway for losing because this is the majority white team. We're going to reward them for losing by inviting them to the White House. She has since rescinded that. When rescinded, she has rescinded her invitation and says just LSU was coming. But Angel Reese said, I don't accept her apology. And she at first said that I wasn't going to go, but they talked to her and she ended up going. But she said, I'm not going to accept her apology. She said what she meant the very first time, and I'm not going if she's going to invite Iowa. That's, of course, changed. But I really like her taking her stance. I really like her speaking her mind. But at any rate, so, you know, I sent that to you, too. I just thought it was really cute. But, you know, when you saw that, you know, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
I wasn't really surprised at Miss Jill. I wasn't surprised. It's the temperament. Somebody should have checked her though.
They did. She came back and somebody wrote a response. Well, of course, a PR person wrote a response.
I don't know. People are just doing the most these days, and it's almost like they dare us to have any type of feelings or emotions or anything about it. But I think she did the right thing. I'm fully in full co-signing position on how she's been handling the situation.
That's good. And I think it's cool. You know, and it's kind of been talked to death, but I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it as a black woman and as probably, you know, having every aspect of your life as a black woman by society being policed. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that because it's almost like they try to steal our joy whenever we have it, you know, which is a crazy thing. So I definitely want to get your thoughts on that. Now, something else is happening.
Wait, let me ask this.
Go ahead.
Have you ever wondered or thought about what if this was between two black players?
It would have been nothing.
Nothing, not even noticed.
That's a very good point. I think that point was brought up, but I think we were talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese so much that I may have just missed those discussions. I know somebody had to have brought it up, but it's just crazy because if Angel Reese had followed another black player on the court like that, it would not have been an issue.
Absolutely not.
At all whatsoever. This is speaking again to white fragility and the privilege and the victimhood that, you know, white folk will have in these instances when they're having to deal with people other than white people, when they're having to deal with minorities in any shape, form, or fashion. And, you know, and I hate to harp on it, and I know y'all listen to this podcast a lot, and y'all read my columns, and, you know, y'all read my bride's columns, and, you know, the conversations that we have, and a lot of these conversations turn the race. But somebody's got to shine a spotlight on them, and these are things that we need to talk about. And
we can't talk about what's not happening. If it wasn't happening, we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
We wouldn't have anything to talk about, and that's the reality of this whole thing, which is just crazy. At the end of the day, that this is happening. So I mean, you know, shouts out to Angel Reese for holding her ground. Shouts out to Flau'jae. She is the daughter of the rapper Camouflage from Florida, as a matter of fact. And it was somebody that was one of my contemporaries. I mean, I think you remember my time being in the Ozone magazine. Shouts out to Julia Beverly, but, you know, he was one of the artists that was popping around that time. He ended up getting killed. This was back in the mid 2000s. He ended up getting killed, but he had a really blossoming rap career that was happening. His daughter plays on the LSU squad. She is a champion. She was also on America's Got Talent, and she's been on another show as well. She's a pretty good rapper as well. So she has the opportunity to have two careers when it's all over with, doing music, and she's a great basketball player, so she will probably make it to the WNBA as well. So shouts out to those women. Shouts out to the women's game getting more press than the men's game. Shout out to that as well. The NCAA women's tournament looks like it's going to be more of a draw than the men's tournament going forward, because that's where all the action and all the news is coming from. So shouts out. But speaking of women, and speaking of which, getting into what's going on also on social media, something that you sent me, Eva, what's her name?
Eva Garcelle.
Well, we will go with that
name?
For the purposes. It's
Eva.
Yeah.
Let's just call her Eva. They know who Eva is.
What was the show that she got famous on? America's Top Model?
Yes.
Okay.
And then
was she
Housewives
a contestant
of Atlanta?
On America's Top Model?
Yes.
Or she was a contestant. Okay. Not the host. She was a contestant.
Correct.
So she got famous from being a contestant, and then she was on.
She was on other stuff, but most recently she
popped off. Everybody was
Housewife.
like, "Hey, check out!" But that was her first time. Hello to the world.
She was on Kevin Hart.
Yeah, I know that, but that was afterward. But she got famous by being a contestant.
Yes, that is correct.
I was just making sure. I wasn't repeating it.
You were.
I was. I had to repeat it, but I was just making sure that was the case.
Yes.
So she's filing for divorce.
Eva Marcel.
There you go. Delayed but not denied. There it is. She is filing for divorce from her husband, who is Sterling. What's his name?
Sterling.
Last name is Sterling. Okay.
Yes.
And she is talking about making him pay child support, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
And that's not his kid.
Correct.
He adopted her.
Yes.
And he's getting a divorce. And because he adopted her, he is now going to have to pay child support. Legally. Mm-hmm. Which is the law.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, it's the law.
It is.
And people are like, hey, here you go again. Of course, the Hoteps and a lot of other people jumped out with here we go again with the man getting screwed over, having to pay the child support and blah, blah, blah. And he's invested all this time in his marriage. Now he is trying to contest the divorce, or he doesn't want to get the divorce. He wants to reconcile. Okay, so he wants to reconcile. She's obviously not willing to reconcile. We don't know what's going on in the household. And he has adopted her daughter, who he is now going to have to pay child support for, and additional on top of the alimony that he's going to have to pay, or the divvying up of the assets, splitting up of the assets, or whatever it were. So I guess you were asking me my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
As a man.
Yeah.
It's the law. It's the law of the land. It's unfortunate, but when he decided to take on the role of and be responsible and be the mature party and say, I'm going to adopt this little girl, which I think is noble, because when you marry a woman, if she has kids, those kids become your kids. We have a blended family. So that's what you do. You take on the role. You take on the financial burden. I didn't, adopt my stepson per se, but when they come under your household and you're taking care of them, they become, a part of the family. You are taking care of them. You're parenting, in a sense. And I commend him for doing that. But unfortunately, when you adopt and you have to make that declaration, you have now opened yourself up to have to pay child support after it's over with. Is it right? Is the question. There's a yes and no, which is wild. Yes, because you have taken on the responsibility of raising this kid, so you got to do it going forward. And then no, if you're not going to be with the mother and this is not your biological kid, should you be saddled with that? So is there like a common ground in between, like a middle ground?
Well,
I don't know.
So I believe that there is, and I know this is not, the most bright and sunny thing to say, but there's an argument to be made, because I think it speaks directly to Eva's character to do that. Because when she left the baby's father, there was this big, huge thing about custody and child support. Mm-hmm. Now you with this dude 5 years, which is probably in some contract or a prenup or something, that after 5 years, if you leave him, this is an argument now. Mm-hmm. So, but this man adopted your child in your heart. I mean, like, why are you not feeling that as something cherishable? I don't know what their situation is. I don't understand. I don't know what caused the divorce or any of that, or how angry she is with him. But none of that is relevant to the fact that you fought to do that. You fought to have him adopt your child. Like the baby dad wasn't with it. Like there was an issue. Mm-hmm. You fought for that.
Wait a minute. Okay. So, clearly these are the things that I don't follow that you follow. But she was previously married.
I don't know if she was married.
But she has a baby daddy.
Yes.
A previous baby. Okay.
Yes. And it's a famous guy.
Right. So there was not a financial issue of you not paying child support, or was there a financial
There was
issue?
some sort of issue with the child support and custody of the child.
Okay.
And then there was an issue with the adoption. The baby daddy did not want the adoption.
Clearly. Absolutely.
Like, he's not gone.
Right. I'm right here.
So, okay, another thing that speaks to your character. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you making this a thing? Even if he was a creep. You know, it's still your baby daddy.
I got to go back, I guess, and do some research on it. But
because
now,
it looks like a pattern.
It looks like a pattern.
So it makes, because ain't no way. Like, I can't even understand, even if you hate this man, if he fought to adopt your child and you once agreed, and this is the only father that this child knows at this point, why on earth would you do that? Right. Unless you are in a financial situation, but you got a show on TV right now.
Right. You have a show on TV right now. You seem to be doing well for yourself individually. Is this like, my insurance plan? Is this what, I'm doing as a cushion? Like, why is this happening? Why did you tell this guy? Or I don't know if he decided to do it on his own. I'd have to really go see. Did he decide to adopt the kid himself? Was it something that she asked him to do? Was he like, I'm all in, and this is how I'm going to show you that I'm all in? Because as a man, I'm going to tell you this. If your father is around and he's accessible, and whether he's like participating or not financially, if your father is around and alive and and he's on this planet and there's an opportunity for y'all to, have a relationship, I'm not going to adopt you because you have a father.
Yeah.
And, as a father who, has, 2 other kids that are grown now, but, child support was a thing, for both of them. Taking care of them financially was a thing for both of them at the time. And, both of their mothers dated again. My oldest daughter's mother, married again. But there was never a conversation about, adopting or adoption or whatever the case is. Like, it just seems weird to me that as a man, you would agree to do that. If I'm married to you, I'm married to your kid as well. So I'm going to take care of her while she's here, but she has a father too. And I'm sensitive to that. And I'm sensitive to the relationship, and fathers interacting with their kids. So I'm not going to come between that. Once I adopt you, that's basically saying, I'm your daddy at this point, and fuck the other guy. Mm-hmm. But the other guy is over here and he's like, hey, I'm still here. Like, I'd have to go back to kind of look at the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I'm kind of sketchy on the details, like, that would be helpful at this point. Mm-hmm. But I know the basics. Right. Of what happened to them, and what I'm determining is that there might be a slight character flaw here, So it's an unfortunate situation, and I can say that if I don't know how you can get to a place in your heart. I don't think I would be able to get to a place in my heart to sue this man for child support unless I'm destitute and I need it. She doesn't appear to be in that situation.
Here's the thing.
Or if there was a discussion about this being the way that they were going to go. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not far beyond the pale either.
I don't know her personally, of course. So this is just me and my speculation. But she looks like she would, be very astute at making sure that she was financially okay. She has
game.
She has established a quality of life for herself that she wants to maintain.
Correct.
And in establishing that quality of life that she wants to maintain, you have to have a backup plan, because acting and modeling, even if she's still doing that, they're not guaranteed checks coming in. She's not in the realm of making $20 million a picture like The Rock or Angela Bassett or, any of those folks. She is, acting job to acting job. So if that's the case, I don't know what the bank account looks like or whatever else she has going on. But, we know of actors, Sherry Shepherd talked about this a long time ago. She talked about she had been on TV and she was working a receptionist job.
Well, yeah, that's true.
While she was on TV.
And I'm not trying to count the folks' pockets.
Yeah.
I'm just basically saying that, putting out there all these different scenarios, we have no idea what the actual factuals are. This is just us discussing it.
Right. And I think we're also trying to tell you that, you see people on TV and you hear them on the radio all the time and they're not making money. So, we're not trying
just because you see her.
Right. So we're not trying to count pockets. So we're not trying to say that she should have enough money to do this or she should be able to do that. What we're saying is that it is very much a possibility that, financially, she may not be as good as people think that she would be because she has a TV show.
Correct.
That she's on. And she may indeed be trying to secure her financial future and her daughter's financial future by having that support in the event that the acting gigs are not coming in. I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows about that? But what I do know is somebody was saying, this man has invested all of this time and all of this money into this marriage and he wants to be married and she's about to divorce him and move on to the next person. And I think they brought up either Tia or Tamara, whichever one got a divorce. Was it Tia?
Mm-hmm.
They brought her up and they're saying, the women decide that, they want to go out and sow their oats. And, whenever they decide, they'll just up one day and then they'll just leave. And then, they'll be asking for money and this, that, and the other thing.
Somebody did that to him. Whoever wrote that.
Yeah, must have been.
Sounds like a journal entry.
Well, you got a lot of men that are really hurt on social media these days. And, these hoteps are out of control. And, these dudes who, again, have never felt the warm embrace of a woman, the touch of a woman.
You are too much.
Haven't gone out, touched grass and been in contact with the rest of the world. And they are really mad. Like, they are mad at women. They mad. Like, it's embarrassing how mad they are. They're just super mad. And, women are terrible and this and this and this and yada, yada, yada. And they're going to take you for this and they're going to take you for that. Like, the internet is a wild place.
Yeah.
Twitter is a wild place, but we'll keep looking at that and monitoring that. I'd like to know how that ends because it's crazy that that little girl has a daddy that's sitting somewhere like, hey, I'm still here. I'm still around, but I'm going to do some research because maybe there's something there we didn't get.
It was a very volatile situation.
It wasn't domestic violence or anything.
I don't know if it was domestic violence. If it was, there could be reason to believe. I don't know if if it ever came out. I'd have to look that up too. But it was not a good situation. Like there was drama the whole period. Yeah.
That's tough. Drama's bad.
Drama is bad.
Speaking of drama and bad, I sent you something in the inbox about work hurt.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that because we've had some very lengthy conversations about that. We have had our trials and tribulations in the work world. And you got to the point a few years ago, I think it was 2015, if I remember correctly. I remember the conversation where you said to me, I can't do it anymore. I can't go back. And I won't say that you were crying, but you were emotional. I think maybe your eyes had welled up a little bit. It got to the point where you was like, I just can't do it anymore because of what had happened and your experiences there. And I had similar situations myself shortly after that, as a matter of fact, because I believe I told you just quit. And then a few months later, when I was at that job, the one where I had to go get the heart monitor, the one where I got duped into taking the job. We won't talk about what that was. But a few months later, I actually was in the same situation. So, and it was crazy. And I think that kind of initiated our entrepreneurial journey. But that being said, and knowing the point that you were there, and I don't know if you watched the full video, but work hurt is really a thing. And then there are people who are still in their jobs who are experiencing work hurt, who influence other people when they come into the building as well. But talk about your experience, and then we'll kind of just go from there. But work hurt is a thing that you don't hear a lot about, but you hear about church hurt, but you don't hear about work hurt.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's absolutely a real thing. And when you get to the point to where you can recognize, like for me, I recognized that I couldn't do it long before I was able to actually not do it anymore. Mm-hmm. So every day after that point, it was worse and worse and worse. Felt like you were dying a little bit every day, And most of mine just came from not being seen and appreciated. And then I moved to another job. That was the most at the one job I was in for so long. And then I went to another job for the money, which is why I tell people all the time, sometimes money is not everything. Even at that point, I understood that. But the position was nothing. I just sat there. And that was great for a while.
Right.
But then, I started feeling like this is a waste of time. And I was starting to have issues there because the work hurt that I was carrying from the previous position interrupted me being able to set an atmosphere that was welcoming and not negative. I carried that negative energy with me to the new position. And it's so common. Like everybody around has been work hurt. Everybody, unless they knew. If you've been there for a long period of time and its atmosphere is toxic or not welcoming or the energy is low, that takes over everybody in there. It takes over everybody in there, just like the pastor and his flock.
Right.
It takes over everybody. And it's a hard thing to get over. That's why you should be an entrepreneur. Work for yourself.
I will say this. And I think this bears saying, everybody is not, however, prepared for or wants to be an entrepreneur.
I was joking.
And I understand that, but some people might take that literally.
I understand. Because I did not mean it literally.
We have been on both of those journeys before, and there are ups and downs in both of those journeys. So if you want to do it, that's fine. We're not telling you not to, but don't just immediately say that's going to be my alternative to me leaving this job where I'm experiencing work hurt and I want to leave, because it takes a lot. Because if you had work hurt in that office, you're going to experience another kind of hurt trying to start your business and trying to be an entrepreneur. And you're going to find yourself, which is where I did. I can't speak for you, and you can kind of chime in, but I found myself at a point, even with the work hurt, I found myself at times during an entrepreneur journey saying I would trade that work hurt right now for that check.
Yeah.
I would trade that work hurt right now for being able to take care of my family, which is a place that you don't want to be. But, I've been there as well. I think shortly after your journey, when it got to the point where I actually had to go to the doctor and I had to get an EKG and I had to go to work with a heart monitor. I had to go to work literally, and I had to stick those things on my chest and wear it at work and carry the little monitor around with me because I was having literal heart palpitations, which had never happened to me before. But I was having heart palpitations at this job because my anxiety level was so high, because I was the sole breadwinner at the time, had to go to pay the bills, and was miserable when I was there because of bad management. Of course, everyone experiences bad management, but when the bad management is in a position where there's nothing that you can really do, when they're almost the end all be all and you've got to be there, I was carrying around this heart monitor, really having heart issues and palpitations because of what I was experiencing and the hurt I was experiencing in that job, and passing it on to other people. And it was funny because the moment that I left that job, it stopped.
Wow.
I went back to the doctor, took the thing back. They checked it. Everything was fine. And I went on about my business. But it was the craziest thing because as soon as I left that job, the anxiety left, the heart palpitations left, everything. So I was at a job that was physically causing me detriment, that was physically troubling me, and it didn't really have the outlet to say, this is what I'm going to do. We had at that time, we had started the first Kundi compound at that time before I left. So you were there every day, and then popped up one day and I was like, well, I'm finna come join you over here in the office to make that work because, you know, she had started her entrepreneur journey and we had opened up a place and, you know, there was some place for me to kind of softly land into, but it still was not financially stable. We were still having to figure out how to pay the bills in this building every day and how to be prosperous in this building that we, you know, had opened up every day after leaving. But, you know, for you leaving in that moment, the day that you came home, I want to talk about that because I think that's important because I was envious at times of people who enjoyed going to their job. You know, when I talk about my father, God rest his soul, he went to work for 40 years at a job that they had to literally tell him to go home because he was too sick to be effective. And that was the only reason that he would not show up to work. And I don't know if that was from love or was that from habit, but there are people every day that go to work that love their job, that love what they do, can't wait to get there. And I always said to myself, damn, I wish I would be in that position one day. But then to be in a job where you go there and you come home with tears in your eyes and say, I just can't go back to that job again. Describe that feeling and that day. I know you remember it.
Oh, yeah, I remembered. And I think there was another day that I called you from the truck.
I talked you into staying.
Yep. I was finna drive off right then. Mm-hmm. And I was breaking down, crying in my truck. And I was begging. I was like, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something else because this cannot be it.
Right.
This can't be it. This cannot be it. It feels horrible every day that I come in here. This is hurtful. You're talking about palpitations, everything, anxiety, depression, just walking in dysfunction, you know, every day. Mm-hmm. I remember posting about it on Facebook one time, and a young lady posted under there. Everybody else was like, oh, it's so cool. It's okay, Queen. You know, you're going to be all right. Stick in there. I'm praying for you. One person posted under there and said, why are you still there?
Right.
I was so offended. I had to breathe for a moment because I was struck. I couldn't answer that question.
It was real.
So thank you, sister. You probably know who you are. Thank you so much for that because it did give me the jolt that I needed to make a move or to at least really do some processing and stop complaining. So after that conversation, I was already open to the end, you know. But I remember coming home and falling into your arms. I couldn't even hold myself up. I couldn't even carry the weight on my knees, anything. It was too much. I was falling apart and you caught me. And I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. It was the most horrible type of pain because you feel defeated. Yeah. You feel defeated. Like I really felt like I could make this work somehow. And I did everything I could do to make it better. So when I did that, I started realizing that it wasn't anything I could do. This situation was going to be something I couldn't work within because of who I was.
Right.
So I couldn't make that fit, you know. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was the end. I knew it was the end. I was hurt. I felt traumatized in a lot of ways. I carried some of the things that I taught myself to be able to survive in that situation. I still carry some of that, and I'm still working through some of that. So it's just like being in an abusive relationship. You can be traumatized by work hurt, just like church hurt. Yeah, it's a real thing, and a lot of people have it, and it festers in offices and in working conditions. It just festers and passes around, you know, and everybody is in there. I don't know what the world would be like without people who don't have work hurt, because everybody got it.
Everybody has it. And you definitely need to stay away from people who have it. But I think you got to take it with a grain of salt as well, because if they're there and they've got work hurt, that means that there was some type of experience that happened there that you probably need to at least know about and be privy to before you make your own assessment. There's some people who just don't like their jobs and they don't like people, and they may not be personable themselves, that may try to pass that on to you. But if there's somebody there like you, for instance, being at your job, being qualified for your job, doing the job, your job and others' jobs at a high level, and never ever being considered for a raise or a promotion, and knowing and
I had to leave
and coming to work every day, knowing that no matter how good of a job you do at what you do, you will never ever make more money, and you'll never ever be promoted unless there's a set of extenuating circumstances. You're going to run into people like that that've got that kind of work hurt, but of course you don't let that basically dictate your experience, but you have to also use that as information to know how it could possibly end up for you. Because if there's somebody that's super qualified that has not been promoted, chances are that might be your experience too. Doesn't mean that it will be, but people aren't crazy these days, and they're in these positions, and people know a lot of how the inner workings of these different jobs work. But for me, it was debilitating seeing you go out and do that stuff every day, and knowing, because the structure at that department that you were working in, knowing that from the top down, that structure was not something that was built for black people to excel in, because there were no black executives at a high level at all. Watching people come in below you and then actually eclipse you and be above you.
That happens a lot.
Not being appreciated, not being valued, all of those things happen.
And the point is that you do this every day of your life, except 2 days on the weekend, maybe. Mm-hmm. You do this every day of your life for 20, 30 years. You're unhappy. You're learning that your voice doesn't matter. You're not valued. At some point, you think that is not going to affect your psyche.
Right.
Even if it's just a job, it's just work. Eventually, if you hear enough of that, you start to believe that.
Right.
And that's the position I was in. Mm-hmm. Thank God for discernment and spirit, because I was able to lean on that to convince myself that that was not true. Mind you, I've already been through a relationship where I learned that I didn't have a voice and didn't have any power and didn't all of this. I'm already conditioned. So the job actually, probably because I carried this energy with me from the relationship, the job actually felt the same way. It felt the same way, the same type of trauma. Baby, this is the second week in a row I'd have had some therapy on this podcast.
I know how to get it out you.
You are giving me a king session.
I don't know what that is, but
I know what it is.
I know how to get it out you.
Because that was just a revelation.
Yeah, it was real.
So I have been traumatized all my adulthood.
Yes. And the job had something. The job had something to do with it. It's a very important thing. The job shaped, in a sense, your movements outside of the job and what you did post the job and your thought process while you were in the job, and me watching you go through that and having to deal with it, and then going through with it, because when it was happening to you, I was like, okay, this is my wife. She has said that she cannot do this anymore, and I would be less than a husband to make her endure this, and make her go, just because I feel like this is something that we need to do. And financially, it was a burden, but to turn around some months afterward and experience the same exact thing in a different sense, it wasn't the promotion or anything like that. It
was enough to make you understand fully what I had been through and what that felt like.
The physically not being able and not wanting to do the job, dreading to go in there every day.
The heart palpitations was probably because your heart chakra was unbalanced and just completely blocked after you were experiencing hurt after watching me having to go through that. Your heart was hurt.
And I was hurt because, I felt undervalued. I felt over-policed because of who I was. I felt micromanaged. I felt like
those are all the things I felt.
The weight of the world was on me at that job every day, and there was no desire to see me succeed in what I was doing, at a point where I felt like really they're trying to squeeze me into the point where I leave, and it got there.
That's what I felt. I probably transferred that energy over to you. You picked it up for me.
And it may have, but it could have been just what the university planned, because it did present the Kundi compound to us, and entrepreneurship and working together and learning how to work together, those things. But work hurt is a real thing. If anybody out there, got anything from this discussion, put it in the comments. Talk to us, holler at us, man, and let us know what you think about that, because this is a real thing. Like, these are things that we experienced, and we're just sharing them with you guys. And some of you might have been out there saying, I've experienced that same thing at my job. I've got work hurt. Someone has passed on work hurt to me. It's something that we don't talk about, because we talk about church hurt a whole lot, but these are things that happen to us in real time. And we share these things with you just to let you know that, hey, you're not alone and you're not by yourself. In that, and all the other things that we talk about too as well. But at any rate, we're going to get out of here. Another great conversation again, and another revelation again.
Thanks,
pull something else out of you, and I'm going to try to do it again on next week as well.
Trying to get
yeah. So y'all make sure y'all tune in next week, man. We thank you.